The old Mercy Hospital stood like a tombstone in the heart of the city. No one dared to go near it. It had been abandoned for years. Now it was a decaying monster, casting a long dark shadow over everything. The windows were like vacant eyes staring out at the world. They were dark and empty. The paint peeled off the walls like scabs. Behind those walls, whispers and moans echoed in the stillness, or so the stories said. The stories were just rumors, weren't they? Tonight, three friends would find out.
Are you sure about this?
Come on, scaredy cat. It's just an old building.
Let's just stick together and stay quiet.
They had snuck in through a broken window, the jagged glass like teeth. The air inside was cold and stale, heavy with dust and the weight of forgotten memories. It smelled like decay. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Each step was an explosion of sound in the unnerving silence. They walked past dark rooms, the shadows inside long and twisted. Lila swore she saw something move in the corner of her eye, but when she turned, there was nothing there.
Did you hear that?
Jake whispered, grabbing Sam's arm. A low moan seemed to drift from the end of the hallway. But when they reached the spot, there was nothing but another empty room. The air grew colder. Their breath plumed out in front of them, white and ghostly. They reached a stairwell. The steps were covered in dust and debris. The railings were rusted and broken in places.
I don't like this. Let's just go.
But Sam was already halfway up the stairs.
Almost there.
As they climbed higher, the whispers started. They were faint at first, like the rustling of leaves. Then they grew louder, whispers of pain and anger swirling around them.
Lila felt a cold hand brush against her cheek. She gasped and spun around. Nothing.
They reached the top of the stairs and stepped onto the ward. It was the infamous Ward 13, the place where the sickest patients were kept. The air here was thick with dread. The floor was littered with broken glass and medical equipment. Beds with torn mattresses lined the walls, and the whispers were loudest here, a chorus of tormented voices.
This is bad. We need to leave, now.
Look.
Sam was staring at something at the end of the hall, his eyes wide. There was a window at the end of the hallway, and in the window a face. It was pale and gaunt, with dark, empty eyes that seemed to stare right through them. The face opened its mouth and a silent scream escaped. Lila covered her mouth with her hand to stifle her own cry. Even Sam looked scared now. The whispers grew louder, angrier. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, taking on monstrous shapes. The air grew frigid, and the face in the window just stared, its eyes burning into them.
We have to do something.
Lila said, her voice surprisingly steady. She looked at her friends.
It wants something.
Suddenly she knew. She knew what the whispers were saying. She knew what the face wanted.
It wants one of us. It wants me.
Before Sam or Jake could stop her, Lila ran towards the window, towards the face. She could feel the cold reaching for her, pulling her in. But she didn't care. She knew this was the only way to save her friends.
Go, get out of here.
Sam and Jake watched in horror as Lila reached the window. The face lunged at her, its cold hand reaching out. Lila screamed as she was pulled through the window. Then she was gone. The whispers stopped. The shadows retreated. The air grew still. Sam and Jake were alone. They ran to the window, but Lila was gone. There was no sign of her, only the empty street below. The next day, the police searched the hospital. They found nothing. No sign of Lila. No sign of Sam and Jake either. They had disappeared too, vanished without a trace. The police concluded that the teenagers had gotten in over their heads. They had probably fallen victim to the building's dangerous state. The case was closed, but the whispers remained. Mercy Hospital still stands, a decaying monument to fear. People say it's haunted. They say you can still hear the whispers. They say you can still see the face in the window. And they say that Lila is still trapped there, a prisoner of the darkness, forever lost but never forgotten. The hospital stands silent, waiting for its next victims, waiting to claim more souls, never go in alone. and be careful who you trust, because in the darkness everyone can hear you scream.